Hi, and welcome to 647. 6 stories for 7 a.m. because there's a famine of truth in our land. And this is your quick news fix. And the truth starts now. Well, it's Wednesday. It's Hump Day, and that means I've opened the Tapas bar just to celebrate you going over the hump, and the chef has 4 offerings prepared for you, and the first one, unfortunately, is a report from Jamaica, and wow, the biggest, meanest hurricane ever to hit the Atlantic and ever to hit Jamaica made landfall this morning, about 11 o'clock, or yesterday morning, between White House and Black River in Jamaica. It records the driest eye on record for any hurricane. It's still a Cat 5. Last report I saw, 4 p.m. on Tuesday, winds at 185 miles per hour with gusts even higher. Okay, it's going to make 4 landfalls probably. Jamaica, and then tomorrow Cuba, and then the following day the Bahamas, and then possibly Bermuda. So this is just absolutely devastating. Nothing like this has ever hit Jamaica. I have no idea what's going to be left of that place. Very sad, just a remarkable show of nature, and what can you do? All right. Upside, Tapas, is video interviews with Biden's team. They all got interviewed, and they are all lying their butts off, okay? And some of them were paid to work annually $4 million, okay? You believe that? Government work, right? Government work for Mr. Softy. The House Oversight Committee was doing all these interviews, and they were concerned about, 1, was there a cover-up of Biden's cognitive ability? 2, who had control of the Autopen, and was Mr. Softy ordering those? And 3, what does this mean for the pardons? Well, the House Oversight Committee dropped a 93-page report on Pam Bondi yesterday, and let's see what they had to say. The House Oversight Committee on Tuesday published its final report on its investigation into the Biden administration's use of an Autopen, concluding that at least some of the president's orders were invalid and calling on the Justice Department to investigate. Earlier this year, the House Oversight Committee launched a probe into President Joe Biden's alleged use of an Autopen to sign pardons and other presidential orders during his waning days in office. You know, because they have to speak this way, and I don't, the pardons are all null and void. Okay, Joe had no idea what was going on. None of those people will answer correctly. They're all trying to say, no, he was sharp as a razor. Yeah, never saw any decline. All of them saying that. And then when they get in front of the attorney under oath, they all say, I plead the 5th. I cannot say anything on the grounds that may incriminate me. Yeah. So after 3 months of investigation that included interviews with President Biden's senior aides, the panel's chairman, GOP Rep. James Comer from Kentucky, unfortunately a blue state, came to suspect that what he and his colleagues had uncovered could be used as evidence to overturn some of those executive actions because those senior staff failed to prove the president knew what he was signing. That's all underspeak. Now, Comer says his committee's final report proves that many of President Biden's Autopen orders were, in fact, invalid. The Biden Autopen presidency will go down as one of the biggest political scandals in U.S. history, despite every Herculean effort by the legacy media to say there's nothing to see here, folks. You're stupid anyway, and you can't handle the truth. So the biggest, I think it's the biggest scandal in U.S. history, maybe behind the stealing of the 2020 election. As Americans saw President Biden's decline with their own eyes, Biden's inner circle sought to deceive the public, cover up his decline, and took unauthorized executive actions with the Autopen that are now invalid. That's what Comer basically dropped on Pam Bondi. Now, we don't know what she's going to do about it. All right. Private sector created nearly 15,000 jobs a week over the past month, preliminary ADP data shows. Private sector employers added an average of 14,250 jobs per week over the past 4 weeks, according to new preliminary data being released by ADP, a turnaround from the negative September numbers that the legacy media had a field day with last month. Stepping into the void created by the government shutdown, ADP will now release a 4-week average weekly change in employment with a 2-week lag every Tuesday. Today's number is the 4-week average. Why are they doing all these gymnastics? Because Trump and Russ Vought are laying off all these folks in the government. That could skew the numbers. So ADP is making a custom report. They're correcting numbers for the shutdown. ADP's near real-time employment data, released weekly, will now provide an even clearer picture of the labor market at this critical time for the economy, providing a dynamic view of job creation and loss at an unprecedented level of weekly detail. All right, this preliminary data will be different from the better known and closely followed National Employment Report, which we're going to call NER, generally released on Wednesday before the government's payroll number. The NER measures the monthly change in job growth during the week that contains the 12th of the month and provides detail of job growth by sector. The preliminary data, which can serve as a guide to the monthly data, offers a 4-week moving average of weekly job growth. It will be revised monthly with the release of the National Employment Report. The 14,250 increase suggests monthly job growth totaled around 55,000 for the 4-week period, compared with a loss of 32,000. So last month, across the country, we lost 32,000 jobs, and this month we picked up 55,000 jobs. That's a great swing, okay? However, the total is subject to revision with the release of the National Employment Report. Why did they say that? Because remember, when the Democrats handed over everything to Trump, they basically reported these huge jobs increase that they did because they had such a flying economy. It's all lies. The report had to be revised later because they had added over 1 million fake jobs to the report. Leg irons, please. Man, these people, they got no moral compass. All right, take two. Rockin' Billy Gates says climate change will not lead to humanity's demise. This is what we call the John Kerry judo, right? You were all in on something, and then for whatever reason, you flip. And when you flip, you flop, okay? If you were a sane person like me, you knew this climate change thing was a complete grift. And hats off to Arthur Robinson, who single-handedly, along with the team of his family, when the Kyoto Accords came out and Al Gore, the buffoon of the world, was getting ready to launch the biggest carbon tax grift on the planet, Art Robinson and his kids got together, contacted 35,000 scientists, real scientists, okay? Not people who have doctors in social science, okay? But real STEM scientists. And they all said this is bogus. These numbers are made up and this is a complete lie. So for Bill, this is a big flip. And it comes a week before the UN Climate Symposium in Brazil next week. So Gates told CNBC that pulling back from Green New Deal is a huge disappointment for me and my $122 billion. You think we could get some of that money? This guy's a psychopathic killer. And the only reason that he doesn't give a damn about climate change anymore is because they need to ramp up electrical production. And he's making way more money and creating way more death in his vaccine gambit, right? It pays better and it's far more deadly. It's a great investment for Psychopaths, Inc. What else did he have to say? In a lengthy memo released Tuesday, Mr. Gates sought to tamp down the alarmism he said many people use to describe the effects of rising temperatures, which ain't rising, person of interest. Instead, he called for redirecting efforts toward improving lives in the developing world. This guy is such a psychopath, okay? This is like Jake Tapper's book called Original Sin. You remember when he came out with that, when it was obvious to everyone, all these people, the media, the people working with Biden, the entire Democratic Congress, all knew this guy was toast. He was toast. He was oatmeal man in his pajamas, and they were hiding him. And Jake calls it original sin? No, it should be called unoriginal sin. And Jake needs leg irons. I'm sorry. This is all John Kerry judo, flipping and flopping when you get caught lying. And that's what's happening with Gates, right? Although climate change will have serious consequences, particularly for people in the poorest countries, it will not lead to humanity's demise. Shoo. Thanks, Rockin' Billy. Mr. Gates, who is worth an estimated $122 billion, is thinking about the challenges posed by a rapidly warming world. Guess what, dude? Where you're going, it's definitely going to be rapidly warming. It arrives a week before world leaders gather in Belém, Brazil, for the United Nations annual climate circle jerk, known this year as COP30. Yeah. Mr. Gates, who turned 70 on Tuesday and has attended the event in previous years, will not be participating. I wonder why. What a profile in courage. He declined to comment about his memo. Get the hell out of here. All right, take three. Amazon laying off about 14,000 corporate workers as it invests in AI. It's not really layoffs, it's an investment in the future. Let's see how they corporate speak this. So Rockin' Billy, he laid off 15,000 people this year. And I wonder what their VP of People Experience told those employees. Now, Rockin' Billy doesn't run things anymore. He just has $122 billion to act as a menace to humanity with. All right? But Amazon said Tuesday that it will lay off about 14,000 corporate employees, marking the latest cuts in the company's multi-year effort to rein in costs. Yeah, the Beezer's not making enough money, apparently. In a blog post, the company wrote that the layoffs are being carried out to help make the company leaner and less bureaucratic, right? Because a crazed billionaire leftist doesn't like bureaucracy. While it looks to invest in our biggest bets, including generative artificial intelligence, right? Transition. We want to get from 350,000 employees. That's how many employees they have. Okay, that's how big this thing is. And you know we're all stakeholders in it because It's too easy to just click and get the thing you need from Amazon, then get in a car, go someplace, find out they don't have it, deal with some couch potato helper who just stands there and stares at you. The Beezer wins every time, and we're all supporting him in this. So 350,000 employees, and their goal is to get it down to a 5-person Kwanzaa party as soon as possible. This generation of AI is the most transformative technology we've seen since the internet, and it's enabling companies to innovate much faster than ever before. It's such a good thing. Tens of thousands of people losing their jobs is such a great thing. It's like the internet, right? It's friendly. We're convinced that we need to be organized more leanly, with fewer layers and more ownership. This is what the senior VP of people experience had to say at Amazon, right? We need to be more lean, and we need fewer layers and more ownership. That's corporate speak for we're laying off 14,000. It's going to affect 30,000 because they're going to pick up the load while AI geeks around and gets it wrong for the first year. It's all corporate BS. And when Trump and Russ Vought lay off 10,000 in the government, it's the end of the world. It's all of that amazing institutional knowledge walking out the door. The Beezer does it, and it's fewer layers and more ownership. Hit the guffaw button. All right. The layoffs are expected ultimately to be the largest corporate job cuts in Amazon's history, touching nearly every area of the company. CNBC previously reported the cuts could affect as many as 30,000 employees who will get an added increase in their workload, but not in their pay, okay? Because the Beezer's a little tight on that stuff. Did you see his wedding? You remember that? Yeah. Yeah, money's tight for the Beezer, so he's going to make the company leaner. Okay, take 4. No birthright citizenship. Okay, these are AGs helping to support one of the president's most controversial agenda items. Birthright citizenship. Did we learn nothing from the Democrat war on poverty? You incentivize people with money to have children. It doesn't work out well for anyone. Nearly all Republican AGs representing 24 states are pressing the Supreme Court, SCOTUS, that the Constitution does not give automatic citizenship to babies of illegal immigrants. Founders are turning over in their graves. No birthright citizenship. The 24 states, led by Iowa's Brenna Bird and Tennessee's Jonathan Scrametti, argued in an amicus brief that the 14th Amendment, which addresses birthright citizenship, was not designed to give automatic citizenship to babies born to mothers living in the country illegally or temporarily visiting. Let's give you the shorthand. The 14th Amendment was written because freed slaves were having children, and white racists were saying those children aren't citizens. And Republicans were saying, no, they are. They're born here in the country, and their parents are here legally against their will, and we gave them freedom. That makes them American citizens, and you Democrats will have to live with it. The state attorneys wrote that they have a unique interest in seeing birthright citizenship limited because it incentivizes illegal immigration, which they said has negatively affected their states, I guess. Have you been to an emergency room recently? It's full of all kinds of crazy people, right? Because that's how they get their health care. And you have something, and you pay taxes for all of this stuff, and you can't get in the door. Recent years have seen an influx of illegal aliens, over 9 million, overwhelming our nation's infrastructure and its capacity to assimilate, they wrote, adding that their states therefore face significant economic, health, and public safety issues from policies holding out a powerful incentive for illegal immigration. What a nice way of putting that all these Biden folks and everybody in every NGO that help these people and entice them to come up through the border and put all those kids in completely unvetted circumstances where they ended up trafficked, they all need to be in jail for the rest of their lives. Policies holding a powerful incentive for illegal migration. Give me a break. All right. Is anybody going to get any common sense in this whole thing? I don't know. So I wanted to write or have a story today about the increase in leftist violence. And so I go looking on the internet for this topic. Nada, nunca, nadie. You can't find it. The internet has been scrubbed, right? Because you don't need to know about that topic. So the best briefing I could find was like this white paper briefing by these PhD eggheads. And I'm going to boil it down to just this one block of verbiage that it's too disgusting, okay? Best briefing I could find. Jihadist attacks have declined in frequency since their peak in the 2010s, owing largely to the destruction of major groups like Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State and the subsequent decline in the power of the jihadist ideology to inspire attackers. What an effing lie, 100% in the wrong direction. What group of trillionaires is paying for all of this propaganda? Okay? Yeah, the jihadists, they're the least violent group now. Have you been looking at France? Have you been looking at England? Have you been looking what's happening in Dearborn, Michigan? Have you been looking at the 800-acre town that is being built outside Houston, which is going to be run by Sharia law? What's going on here? Do you not see that Sadiq Khan is running London into the ground, and his buddy, Zoran the Magnificent, is going to be mayor of New York City, our greatest city in our country, is now going to follow London down into the pit of hell. And that election, I believe, is on November 4th. That's next week, folks. Okay? And I got plenty of friends, some dear in New York, and I told them years ago, this is all going to happen. And they were like, you're just a crank. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. It's all coming next week. Left-wing attacks are remarkably less lethal overall than jihadist or right-wing attacks. Is that your experience? However, even in incidents that do not result in mass casualties can still have significant impact. What a reasonable note. Fortunately, many left-wing attackers, though not all, have demonstrated limited skill in carrying out violence. Left-wing, they're just out there, they're grandmas and grandpas, right? It's Grand Tifa. That is a 100% lie. They are all backed by this billionaire group called Riot Inc. And Riot Inc. pays for retired Navy SEALs who are disgruntled about our country, and they train these guys to be trained and effective killers in close quarters combat. Okay, what's that for? So they can show up in suburbs and slaughter people who are unprepared for trained killers showing up in groups in their neighborhoods. This is all happening, folks. You can handle the truth, and you should be doing something about it. Fortunately, many left-wing attackers have demonstrated limited skill in carrying out violence, and the movement is disorganized. That's a 100% lie. It's highly organized with little formal coordination. And guess what? AI is programmed into all this. They turned this fantastic thing into a gelding, and then they hobbled it because they're so crazy, these leftist billionaires, right? So AI knows nothing about anything when it comes to this. The rise in left-wing attacks merits increased attention, but the fall in right-wing attacks is probably temporary. Yeah, because right-wing people, they just go off all the time. And it too requires a government response. In any case, many of the prescriptions for fighting terrorism effectively apply to violence from both the left and right. But the right's full of white supremacists, right? Every Democrat and half the rhinos on Capitol Hill will tell you that domestic violence by white supremacists and Latin Catholics, that is our major fear. These include ensuring proper counterterrorism resourcing, avoiding overreactions, and having leadership unequivocally condemn such attacks, which doesn't happen and will not happen. All right, take 6. The advanced reprobate mind now has a new reprobate mutation. This is our first mutation. We've learned from Pfizer. Okay, Eric Swalwell is patient 0. And the disease by scientists is termed BDS. BDS. Not TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. This is the mutation, BDS. It's ballroom derangement syndrome. BDS, ballroom derangement syndrome. The new mutation, the actual virus itself that's mutated, is called Fang Fang, scientific term. You remember Fang Fang? That's an important part of our history. Fang Fang was a Chinese spy honeypot sleeping with Eric the Simp Swalwell and completely fleecing him of important government information that he was getting in his committee placements. Yeah, that's Fang Fang. Leg irons for Eric, and who knows where Fang Fang is. But listen, this Fang Fang thing, it wasn't over with Eric, okay? They got so much information from Eric with that honeypot that they said, let's not do these government people. They're too stupid. Let's go to the corporations that have information and technologies that we need to get. And most of those guys are geeks and never got laid in high school or college. So this honeypot thing, let me tell you how far they took this, right? I read a CIA report. These Chinese chicks are coming here, okay, employed by the CCP, and they are getting next to these CEOs. Many of them are getting degrees in the US and working for the company that has been targeted. Then they rise up in the company and get next to the CEO and make his life wonderful. If he's not married, they end up getting married to him. If he is married, he leaves his wife and marries this chick because she's taking him to heaven every night, and they are getting married and having kids. So look at the Chinese game here compared to our attention span. This is the CCP I'm talking about. They're going to take a beautiful girl and train her to be a honeypot, right? An espionage prostitute. And you can't be stupid to learn this thing. And then they put her in a college, into a field, and help her manipulate to get into a corporation and rise into the corporation and get next to the CEO, marry him, have children with him, and the entire time be stealing information and sending it to the CCP. How profoundly evil are these people? Unbelievable. So what was I going to tell you? Oh, let's just read about Eric has become the latest to succumb with Trump supporters are now calling BDS, Ballroom Derangement Syndrome. See, I'm not making it up. The Northern California congressman wants a pledge from any 2028 Democrat presidential candidate that he or she will demolish President Donald Trump's planned big, beautiful ballroom or not bother to seek the party's nomination. Don't even think of seeking the Democratic nomination for president unless you pledge to take a wrecking ball to the Trump ballroom on day one. Okay, this is how you can identify BDS. Okay, Fang Fang in the system. The political pejorative BDS, the acronym emerging in social media and even making it to the screen at Fox News, is a new variation of TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, a slam that has been around since the first Trump term in office. Swalwell is only one of many Democrat commentators who have gone ballistic over the estimated $250 million to $300 million event space reportedly to be paid for by private donors and Trump himself. Appalling. Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota told MSNBC's The Weeknight that the demolition of a section of the East Wing was taking a wrecking ball to democracy. Right, Amy. Let's not look too closely at your past from 9/11 on. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries told reporters that project was so the 47th president could be celebrated as if he was a king. Hakeem, there's going to be another mutation. It's going to be king derangement syndrome. Hakeem's already got it. He's patient one if we start seeing more of this. Hillary Clinton, right, the devil's mistress, said she was trying to help Democrats fundraise off the project. Chelsea Clinton, right, the $81 million payee through NGOs. Chelsea's upset. 81 mil wasn't enough. Chelsea said lamenting Trump was demeaning the White House's stature with the renovation, seemingly oblivious to the irony represented by her father's sexual escapades with intern Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office. Trump is demeaning the White House, and he was playing humidor with a young girl in the Oval Office. So we're not playing humidor. We're not in the Oval Office, okay? We're out here in the cyberspace, and we're doing what we can. And what can we do? Well, in my case, you can like us, you can share us, you can make comments. There should be plenty after a report like this on Hump Day. And send us out to all your network. You get that newsletter on Saturdays, forward it to people. It's great. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. And it's free, right? It's free. You don't have to pay for it. And you don't have to pay for this either. My request to Jehovah God, who continues to bless me for absolutely no cogent reason, so I know that he will bless you. Dear God, please bless these people today on Hump Day, on Wednesday, and get them set up for the downslope side of the week and into the weekend. God bless you and thank you.